Make sure it's fine. Ready?
Okay, so we'll call our regular board meeting of March 3rd, 2025 to order, please. And Sheena, if you could offer prayer first.
Bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to gather here this evening. We thank you for the students and the staff that were present here today and for their wisdom and their input, Lord. And we thank you for the gifts and talents that you've given them. We ask, Father, that you're with us as we make decisions this evening, that you give the board knowledge, wisdom, and discernment. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. God?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Did you want to go to the restroom?
I don't want you to, I've got your chair.
Hold on. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got to do introductions, so we'll start over with Jody. Introductions.
You're up.
Who are you?
Sorry.
Warren Sanders.
Josh Steve.
Donna Buckley.
Steve Belton.
Logan Moyers.
Sean Collar, Sheena Van Meter,
Melvin Shook.
Dixie Bean.
Janet Rose.
Doug Hines.
Jennifer Strodman.
And Roy Harper.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank everyone for being here. We've had a busy afternoon and a good turnout at things. So next thing, presentations, maintenance and transportation updates. Josh?
So February is a short month. We accomplished a lot. We had the fire marshal inspection of all schools. I have not received the results back for that, but it went really well. We had some small infractions, but nothing to really worry about. The fire marshal also came back on a different date. He inspected the Pilgrims building, it passed. It is now available for usage, but we still have to decide on the floor. Dr. Van Meter and I have looked in. There's nobody local that does what we need. So we've reached out. It's more the Virginia, Maryland areas to companies of that sort, and we're waiting for some quotes to come back on it. Boiler inspection, we had it went well. They also check hot water heaters as well as the kettles in the kitchen, anything that deals with steam. And of all the buildings, we only had to replace 3 pop-off valves on 3 different water heaters. We de-winterized the Epic lot. It's now up and running. The guys delivered over 300 commodities in one day. We started using the new work order app, so we spent the month preparing it. Today was our first day using the new work order app. So on the work order side, you guys should have a different setup in April. And it's a lot more user-friendly for us as well. And then along with that, we got all of the mowing contracts. Is that something that we do now, or do we do it later, or is it on there?
It's down here later for them to approve.
Right on. And then Dr. Van Meter also sent me an email last week, and I reached out to Potomac Edison with your concerns about the electric. Today, I did finally get an email back from our contact there, and her email states, quickly looking at the accounts, there are multiple rates for the schools. Some of the accounts are being billed on a demand rate, while some are grandfathered in on rates that are not. There is not a countywide demand for the accounts that are. The billed demand is specific to each school. It says we will need to dial into each school and account specifically if there are questions. So if we need to get specific, I can ask her, and then she can come back and I guess break it down building by
Wonder
building
which
for us.
school, you don't know which school.
I
She's
don't.
gonna say that.
It's that short right there. That's it. That's all she said.
I think we need it broken down.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
That was the
Okay.
question.
We definitely need
Yeah,
specifics.
we need it broken down.
Yeah. What else do you want to ask in that email? So we follow up with her. So which ones obviously are grandfathered in, which ones are on demand? What else do we want to know?
What's peak demand is, when it
The
hits that,
time,
right, how long does that demand, when the demand hits,
Is it now?
is that weekly, monthly, or daily?
You mean like when does it reset?
Right,
Gotcha. When does it reset? Okay.
Um,
I think that also, while we're at it, that I'm sure they have someone in-house that could tell us what might we do to save electricity.
okay, so I went and looked. We cannot control pricing. We can't control the
Oh, right,
pricing.
that's Public Service
Right.
Commission.
But going back and looking, since I've been here, our kilowatts per hour have dropped. That's what we can control is usage. With all of the LEDs that we've put in throughout the county, the kilowatt per hour has dropped. So what I did, just so everybody could kind of get a sense of it, I took and I made a little thing for us. So at my house is 3,600 square feet. I paid $320 last month in electric. I round that number up to 4,000 square feet. Okay, it's just gonna be a little math problem for us. There's 500,000 square feet in Hardy County schools. If we take that 4,000 divided into the 500,000 and a half million square feet, and we get 125, we take that 320, it's $40,000 that we have. Our bill, I believe, is less than that $40,000. So to go along with that, I live with 3 females. My ceilings are not 8 foot high.
Careful.
The classrooms have ceilings that are 8 foot high or larger. Common areas like the hallways are all 10 feet high. Gymnasiums, main corridors are 20 plus feet high. My largest room in my house is 24 by 24, just doing a comparison and contrast here. Every school has a gymnasium, a cafeteria. We have 2 with 2 auditoriums and 2 gymnasiums. We do not have hundreds of computers, devices plugged in for charging. We run our heat 24 hours a day, where Hardy County Schools does not. We don't have any elevators. Our doors are not constantly opening and closing. And these are just some of the obvious differences. So when we worry about those costs, we don't take into perspective, I think, a lot of the things that's going on inside those buildings. We just see that large $34,000 number there, which with our kilowatts per hour, I think that's what we need to really pay attention to is our energy usage. We can't control the cost. The cost is always going to be there.
But isn't East Hardy High School usually the highest? And
Yes,
doesn't
it is.
have the largest.
And the reason that we did, no, Moorfield High School has the most square footage, but we have the electric heaters at Moorfield High School because they use propane and not natural gas. It took us last year for us to get to Lloyd, and Lloyd finally explained to us that it's an electric heater in there that is causing those usage to go up in the wintertime because of the heat.
You mean over?
At East Hardy High.
On the heat pumps.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it goes into supplemental heat.
Right. Now, this is the crazy part of it. Our smallest building square footage wise is Moorfield Intermediate School. Per square foot, they're the highest. I don't know why. I can't figure out why. They are the highest per square footage. But we haven't gone in and done any LED work there yet. It's a newer building. Nothing's really gone out on it. So it's a process unless we just want to dump a bunch of money into LEDs and get our kilowatt hours. But again, it's going to help with our usage, but it's not going to help with the pricing. And I hope that kind of helped a little bit. That was the best way I could come up with an analogy for everybody to try to show that, that I think we're doing pretty good. I really do. We're doing a lot better than what we were. I know that the cost doesn't show it that way, but I think the kilowatt per hours proves it for itself in that sense.
On those emergency heat solar, what temperature does that switch from your heat pump to your?
It's when, I think it's when it's unoccupied and 60 degrees. 60 degrees is our low point there. So it's when we're unoccupied, those 13, 14 hours a day that we're unoccupied, and it gets down to that 60, that's when those emergencies click on and brings us back up to 60. And it can be, it's cold in Baker. It's always cold in Baker. And I think that's when a lot of it happens is in the nighttime.
Does any school have windows that you can actually open like we used to have Moorfield High?
Yes, yes,
There are some.
yes.
Which schools have windows that you can actually open?
MIS does.
Oh, I think all of them, both high schools, MIS. Moorfield Elementary does not, but some rooms have actual doors that swing open. Moorfield Middle does not, right?
East Hardy
Um,
Elementary's.
East Hardy Elementary swings open at an angle, but you can't get a
I
person.
bet years ago, Moorfield High School had the lowest because we didn't have air.
Right.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was a big.
Yeah.
that was a big
Remember
concern.
those days?
I remember
When you had to go to the old park?
It felt like it is in here right now. It's hot.
I think you're doing the right thing, but like we've always said, when we looked at the bills today, it was $92,000 is what we paid the electric company. You know, so.
Last month,
That's what Barbie wrote out this month. Just what she.
So, yeah, it would have been for,
94,000 actually.
it's wild, it's crazy. And,
yeah.
But
yeah.
it's
And,
been,
and again, we could probably take the
It's been
kilowatts per hour, but you've got those
over
cold,
this year.
cold days.
yeah, it's been for a
Well, you're
while.
gonna have hot days too,
Yeah.
so that kind of equals itself out.
Well, it doesn't, because the air conditioners have to kick on during those hot days.
Right.
Yeah, so, and that's what, you know, going back to the calendar, you look at August 11th, it could be potentially really hot for a week there. Yeah. But our usage has gone down, but we can't control the pricing of it. I just wanted to kind of throw that out
Well, the
there.
only thing you could, check that demand, and if that
Yeah, I
demand
will.
is peaking all at one
Yeah.
time, that sets your rates for whatever time that time's.
Right, and I'll email her first thing tomorrow morning when I come in.
What's that?
The $90-some thousand, is that what you said?
It was
the bill
on the-
she paid.
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
saying it was on there, okay, I'm so
No,
sorry.
it's just what.
So sorry, so sorry. It's
Sorry.
here, okay, gotcha.
So on the work order side, any questions on anything we've done there? We are still without an electrician.
So the MES building isn't gonna be used, so the floor is down? Is
No,
that-
it can be used now. I'm just saying there is no
Okay.
floor.
Right.
There is no. floor.
Has it been used yet? Has Wade used it or anything?
I don't know.
I know-
Have you decided on the flooring?
I know
No,
he knows
we have
it's
not.
open, but.
We've done away with, the field turf. And I think we're going to more of a rubber flooring, like it's in the elementary school
Yeah,
cafeteria.
you showed me, yeah.
On page 2, what's going on with all the blinds over at East Hardy Elementary
So
School?
they ordered blinds for all the classrooms, teacher preference. The window frames are metal. We burn up probably 2 bits per blind, and we can't go in there when students are in there. So I put it on hold, I think it's marked on hold, until either spring break or the summer.
And do they want the blinds because sun is coming in there and bothering people, or
I never
what's
asked.
the
I
reason?
just got it, and I told her that that was the way, we put one up, and once we put that one up, it was kind of, the Joneses have it, so I want to have it as well. Yeah. But the school bought it, but it's, we can't go in, it's burning bits, and it's too much of a distraction for students, even in neighboring classrooms.
You told me once about the gym doors at Moorfield Middle. I can't
Yes, so the
remember.
exterior doors are good. Mountain State Lock Key Sicker, Sean,
Okay.
has ordered the interior locking mech, and we're just waiting for it to come in. We've already got the PO, it's, everything's moved on, we're just waiting on Sean at this point. Yeah.
I have a question, and this is coming from the invoices also. What does Appalachian Signal do for
ASAP,
us?
they are our doors, our intercoms, what else do they do, Jeff? Doors and intercoms? Yeah, doors, intercoms, fire alarm systems.
Okay. Okay, just curious.
Anybody else have any more questions about the work orders?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Jessica?
Thank you, John.
So we're gonna start with CTE, since we just closed out CTE month, at the end of February. Some good news that we have, we applied for and received the SAEF2 grant, which is going to support us with our outreach with extending the Grow Your Own. As you're well aware, the Grow Your Own apprenticeship is our in-house program where we are training our own teachers, making a commitment with them for their apprenticeship hours while they're at college, and then coming back to us to fill vacancies once they graduate. They're also eligible to get their apprenticeship hours in the classroom while they're working through their college courses. This grant that's awarded is $119,000, and it's going to support the development of an internal process for our time tracking for said apprentices, support a county apprentice coordinator, and it's also going to allow us to have some community outreach and awareness initiative, which we will be launching in April. We are searching for a vendor to provide some videography services, so that way we can do some camera recordings in the classroom with students, as well as the Grow Your Own apprentices, and position Hardy County Schools as the place to be for work for non-teachers and future teachers. With that being said, we've also applied to a Farm to School implementation grant. It's a federal grant. It's a $100,000 request to help repair and or replace a lot of the refrigeration equipment that's in our CTE agriculture labs. That again will support obviously a farm to table initiative, leveraging our high tunnels and greenhouses in order to prepare food for cafeterias on site, local, and then any surplus they would be available to do community pick days throughout the summer if we don't have students that are there to provide those services, and any additional or surplus veggies and fruits they can sell to help their programs at a self-sustainable rate. Do you guys have any questions about those two grants?
So who would be available, responsible for making the produce available
So
to the public?
that's a great question. Right now, as the feeder part of this, since it's a part of the Epic lot, the
Right.
hours that we have established on the Epic lot are the same hours that we'll have for distribution. And we are exploring hiring an individual now, within the next couple weeks, months. Right now, we're buying out teacher plannings to help support that. But as we roll into the new fiscal year, we're looking at hiring an individual that'll be on site throughout those posted hours continuously throughout the year. So we'll have a point person.
Okay, student or adult? Could it be a CTE student?
It could, right now, in the details that we've been working out specifically with HR, it's gonna require somebody that would either have their teaching license because they are supervising students or be like a long-term sub eligible or something like that for monitoring. The students that'll be on site as managers for each of those programs will have students on site, but we need a point person that is
Gotcha.
an adult
Okay.
to supervise all the things, just in case if, not saying that there will be, but in the event of an emergency or things like that,
Right.
we need to have an adult that's there and certified or licensed that need that.
So will the students who will be on site be paid?
No, not the students.
Oh,
The
okay.
students are earning work-based learning hours right now through the Epic. The work-based learning hours are tied to the NOCTI platform. All students that come through each one of our CTE programs, it's a part of our accountability report, have to log at least 25 whole hours in each of the sections, either community work-based learning or apprenticeship internship. So right now with the CWST program that's happening is those students are able to work off-site part of the day and earn those hours versus students that aren't able to go off-site can leverage the launch pad for their hours under that community work-based learning apprenticeship. So if you have those two houses at the top level of that house, as far as overseeing, there would be that apprenticeship coordinator that would be overseeing what was happening there. And that's the position that we'll be looking at hiring next fiscal year
Okay,
with that.
too bad the kids can't earn a little bit of money too.
Yes, in a perfect world, it would be excellent if we could leverage one of the grow your own students in order to monitor. But with them being off-site and having to get college hours and things like that, we may or may not make that an opportunity available for them, but they would still need to make sure that they met their sub requirements or
Right,
their
right.
sub certifications in order to do that, which usually, correct me if I'm wrong, requires at least an apprentice or a associate's degree, if not more, in order to be eligible for that.
Right,
60 hours.
yes.
Yeah, 60 hours, thank you.
So are they gonna be full-time or part-time?
About the Launchpad coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
they would be part-time, not to, the posting that we have in the future that's coming is not to exceed 30 hours a week,
Funded through.
funded through CTE, secondary and Perkins.
Actually, it's an extracurricular.
Yes, as an extracurricular position.
Okay,
She's
okay,
still
because I
under her
wondered if we were gonna get
Yes, no,
another one.
no.
That's
CTE,
fine, Mrs. Markwood.
I'm sorry, always,
And
always,
that
always.
position's only through the end of
Let's
this.
back up. Let's take 2 steps back. This is a CTE house and CTE budget that's based off our allocations. So to take another step back, CTE receives allocations from the state and the federal level based off our student participation, based off of our student completers, based off of our performance, which is how many students do well on their NOCTI assessment at the end of their program. All those 3 things, plus the Perkins funding, gives us an allotment every year that we spend to support directly the CTE. And as a part of that funding that stays in the house of CTE, we're allowed to hire temporary part-time grant funded because they are grant, they go from year to year, support services and personnel. That is what this individual would fall under that house's support
Okay.
services and personnel.
And that position is only through June, mid-June of this year for
Right.
this posting.
Right. And then we'll roll
It
next
has to
fiscal
be
year.
reposted. if
Right,
we
it has to be
want continue
reposted
next
every year.
As long as she gets the money for
As
it.
long as the grant funding is available, correct.
Keep your
Okay.
fingers
That help?
crossed.
Sorry. Okay,
Thank
I
you.
started at the bottom. I guess I had like built from there up, but I should have started from there. Down. Okay.
What days are is Launchpad open now?
The launch pad is open on Wednesdays and Thursdays now from 8:30 till 1 o'clock. They start cleanup about 1 and then clean up about 1:30 and then get back in.
I guess we'll promote those days and hours so everyone knows that you're open.
Yes, yes. And if you haven't already, please join and follow the launch pad on social media and all the other sites and wares. And as a part of our CTE website, we've made some major changes over the past month to help promote the CTE department. As a whole, we have some student profiles on there with student testimonials. We also have some profiles on there for our teachers, their why, their when, all that.
Well, who's ours posted on the fence?
They are. Yep, they sure are. And they'll have the open signs and banners as well. To mark your calendars, the ham, bake, and egg event is Friday, March 14th. I know you guys received an invitation last meeting, but I just wanted to remind you if it's not done yet. 4 p.m. is your buyer's reception, and the auction will begin promptly at 5:30. And if you'll also mark your calendars for the CTE Awards ceremony, which is May 14th, and is a Wednesday night, orders will be at 5:30, and the ceremony will start promptly at 6.
And that is in the auditorium.
That will be at the Morpeth High School auditorium, yes, sir.
And what was the time again?
5:30 for snacks, 6 o'clock for ceremony,
What's the date, you know, so?
May 14th.
Eggs will be sold for about the same price they are at Walmart.
That's a good price.
Well played, well played. Yes, the ham, bacon, and egg is March 14th.
And that is at the high school.
It is at Morpeth High School. They're actually both at Morpeth High School this year. We're alternating the award ceremony, but. One more program highlight is Lacey Kesner, the ag teacher at PHHS, has earned her national board certification, and she's going to be recognized at the state ceremony on March 11th. So when you see her on Friday night, she'll just be getting back in from Charleston. If you'll give her a good pat on the back or, yeah. Any other questions for CTE?
One comment, I had some work done there recently with the Mrs. Kreitz
Yes.
program, DECA. Very well done and, very well pleased.
Yeah, they just received the gold certification again for their school-based enterprise. They still remain the only school in the state to earn that gold level endorsement, and they're going like on year 7 in a row in the retail division. Hampshire does have a food operations, but between Hampshire and Hardy, we're still the only 2 counties sitting with a full gold level endorsement. So they're working hard and they're meeting a whole lot of criteria above and beyond what even some of our state standards are as a part of that CTSO to meet those requirements. So,
That's something to be really proud of.
yes.
Oh my, yeah.
Super excited. And they compete this weekend down at state, and then they'll be headed to ICDC. The winners from this weekend will be headed to, I believe it's Florida this year in April, but I'll let you know again closer to time.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Technology? Questions on work orders? I think we're finally starting to see the daylight on it with rolling over all the iPads, and as well as subscribing to the Apple Care. I think we've got 2 open at this time. The logistics as far as receiving them whenever there's an issue and then shipping them out and having an additional ship back in has really cut down on the amount of time that students are without those electronic devices. So we're excited for that. And as he said, the work order system's up and running. And it is cheaper than what it was before. And all of our principals have had an opportunity to log in at this point. So we're launched. One other note on tech, we do plan on exploring the COPS grant and the Homeland Security grant as soon as those federal grant windows are published. Those grants, if they are awarded, will be used to update the camera systems at MES and MIS. So we'll wait until those open and we'll apply. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comments, and we do have Donna Bodkins that has signed up to speak. So you have 5 minutes.
All right, nothing major. I know I'm talking to the choir. As you all know, everyone wants a job, but no one wants to work. So I'm here mainly, at Moorefield Middle School, we are to have 2.6 janitors. Maybe 15 days this entire year, we have had 2.6 janitors working. Maybe 15 days, but most days we have not. And we have 62 plus rooms in that building. I mean, not all of them get used by students every day, but still, every one of those rooms gets dusty and dirty, trust me, I know. I clean the ones that the janitors aren't assigned to. But anyway, with that said, several of the teachers saw where, well, let me back up again. There's 11 substitute janitors on the list. Out of those 11, only 4 of them have ever stepped foot in Moorefield Middle School. Today, Ms. Rhonda spent a half an hour calling everyone on this list and everyone on the emergency list. One person on the emergency list got back to her. None of these did. So, you know, that's because again, we only had one today and he was very sick. So the teachers have seen where you're offering the service personnel opportunity to work. So several of the teachers have asked that if they could work 4 hours of an evening and get paid a little extra. So that's just something I want you to consider and think about. Also, for some reason, and I do not understand this, our .4 that comes here to the board office does not like coming down here to the board office. And I don't understand that. This would be the easiest building to clean. But do we have to go to the board office this evening? Do we have to go? You know, that's the first question that comes out of their mouth when they come in. And so maybe look at having our co-op students clean this building. That's just a suggestion. So I'm just here to get some suggestions because our building is dirty. I know it is, but here again, when you only have one janitor or 1.5 janitor and you're supposed to have 2.6, it's hard to keep every room clean. So that's just my 2 cents. And I told the teachers I'd bring it down, but the teachers are willing to clean their own rooms and clean the bathrooms. They want clean bathrooms too. But they would like to be compensated for it too, because they put in their 8 hours plus. And anyone up there will tell you I'm not beyond getting in the bleach and the rubber gloves and whatever. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
And we're not allowed to respond to public comment, but we'll follow up with you in an email or a conversation, just so you know.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay, next on the agenda are the consent items, and we have the board minutes from February 17th, 2025, attachment 1.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved 5-0. Unfinished business. We have an update on the Moorefield track project from MHS Athletic Boosters.
Hand up here, it's just photographs.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Logan.
So I'm here today to discuss the remaining work that's needed on the track project. I'd like to go over the work that we have planned to wrap everything up and make sure you guys are okay with that before we proceed with anything. And I guess first and foremost, what we want to make sure is that the funding will be there before we start work on the project. So the rubberization of the track surface looks like it will take place in June. I spoke to that guy last week, and he told me right now that it looks like it will coincide with their schedule for early June, which works out perfectly for us. Because once the rubber goes down, you have to be off the track, I think, for 3 weeks. Track season ends Memorial Weekend, so that should work out just right. That, as we had discussed previously, cost roughly $100,000, which is what you guys had agreed, had taken board action back in the fall to acquire that funding through the Finland Community Bank to cover the rubberization. Since that time, we acquired some additional funds from the governor that can now be put towards that rubberization work, which frees up the funding that you guys have previously committed for the rubberization. We want to make sure that you guys are going to maintain that commitment for that funding so that we can proceed with some of this other work that we have pictured here. So I'll go over that with you here. So first items that you see there are the drainage system. The first 2 pages are the completed drainage system. The next page is the drainage system being installed. So that goes all the way around the inside and outside of the track. The inside of the track is roughly 1,300 feet. The outside of the track is roughly 1,600 feet. Because of the cement stabilization, the track sits about 6 to 8 inches higher than it did previously. So there is a drop off, and with the drainage system being in some places an inch or 2 lower, your drop off is some places between 8 and 10 inches. So it's almost like a full step down off of the track onto the ground level. What we need to do is bring in some fill to level that off to really eliminate a tripping hazard. We don't want to use soil because that would wind up in the drainage system, which is what happened with the original drainage system. So we're proposing using crusher run and filling all the way around the inside and outside of the track, but that'll be costly. It's going to require quite a bit of stone to go, almost 4,000 feet. So that's one item that we want to take care of. If you flip on, the next item you'll see is the storage unit that's currently in place. If you'll notice in that top picture of the current mini barn that's out there, you'll see how full that thing is. And it is stacked to the rafters in that building. When that stuff comes out, I think there's a fair chance that building's going to collapse. It's really being supported by its contents. And as you can see, it's very full. What we would propose doing, if you flip to the next page, is purchase and installing shipping containers. Those are one-trip shipping containers, so they've been used one time. And you can see they're in excellent shape, and they should last infinitely longer than a mini barn. So we want to go from one 12 by 16 mini barn to 2 20-foot shipping containers. And we think that will adequately handle the storage needs of both the track and the middle school football team. Moving on, the next item that we want to take care of is the long jump. So the long jump and the discus and the shot put were not part of the original work that's been done to date to fix up the actual track surface. The shot put has been repaired actually by wrestling coach Rob Pillis with his own time and money. Put a new shot put pad in and renovated all that. So it doesn't need any additional work. The long jump, as you can see, is not in great shape. In the following page are the requirements, the specification requirements for long jump. So you can see the runway is to be a minimum 42 inches wide, preferably 48. We're roughly 18 inches wide. The length of the runway is a minimum 130 feet. We are roughly 80 feet. So we need to both widen and extend the length of that. And we also need to completely renovate that sand pit, which is mostly a grass pit currently. Next item is the discus, which you'll see on the following page. You'll see the current situation. Those poles are going to have to be removed. Some of them are badly bent. And we're going to we're going to reuse the existing poles, but we're going to place them in the ground appropriately. On the following page is the specifications for what the layout should be for a discus. So we would like to make our discus comply with those requirements. And finally, a renovation of the locker room facility. The first pages you'll see there are locker room facility currently has in it 2 locker rooms. They're both very small. They were actually added on after the fact. In addition to those 2 locker rooms, there are some storage areas, which you'll see on the following page. And then there is a concession stand and a coach's office, which you'll see on the following page. What we propose to do is remove the current coach's office and turn that area as well as the storage area into an additional locker room. Make that the women's locker room. All right. We will turn the concession stand, propose turning the concession stand into the coach's office. And that would eliminate a concession stand altogether. And we're going to combine the 2 small locker rooms into 1 locker room. Basically take down that interior wall that separates the 2. And so now we'll have a locker room that can adequately hold the middle school football team and the boys track team, and a separate locker room for the girls track team. One issue is that neither locker rooms have bathrooms. So there are bathrooms in the building, but they are around the opposite side of the building from the locker room. So if a student athlete is in the locker room and needs to go to the bathroom, they have to leave the front of the building, walk around to the back of the building, and go to the bathroom. What we'd like to do is just leave the bathrooms in their current location, but do away with the exterior door and make it an interior door that is accessible from one from the boys, one from the girls. So we had originally looked at possibly expanding the building and adding bathrooms so we can maintain the public restrooms as well, but infrastructure is prohibiting that. So there's a sewer line and a gas line that would need relocated, and the cost of that would probably double the cost of the project. So we think that we can do all this work with the funding that is in place currently. So if you guys are agreeable to allowing us to proceed, we want to get started basically right away.
So are you eliminating totally a public restroom up there?
We would be eliminating the restrooms, but our thought process there was public restrooms.
Right.
Between track and football, you have 100+ practices a year. We have 2 or 3 track meets a year. We think the bathrooms will be better served to be used daily by the students at practice versus those 2 or 3 days a year that we have track.
Porta potties.
So
what would you do?
porta potties or open school. And that would be a decision for you guys, the principals, whomever.
I think you have to have one to host the track meet. You're gonna have to have public restrooms for sure.
Yeah, we just didn't know if you need porta potties right there or if a walk to like the school gymnasium doors would be acceptable. That's a determination that you guys can make. But we just feel like it makes more sense to utilize those bathrooms as student bathrooms versus public restrooms because they're between football and track, you're talking 100+ practices. And then the track meets, we have 2 or 3 a year. So that's what we propose for the building and all the remaining site work. And we'd like to get started on that relatively soon. We've spoken with some contractors who can take care of the work. There are actually some contractors who've already worked on this project previously. I know that we'll need to work with Sarah to ensure that all bidding requirements are met and spending guidelines are followed, but I don't think there'll have to be any issue to.
The only new thing that we have to consider is we're following new state guidelines on vendors and requiring full vendor packets that I'm sure those folks have those things correct, but please don't get anybody on site until we meet
Sure,
with
no,
Sarah to do that.
Yeah.
Just so and I promised her I would say that again tonight for her request. But yeah, she would be willing to meet with you whenever you guys are ready to go through that list.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I don't think there's a concern with the funding. Is that correct? I think we're still on board for
Yes.
what the board is committed to as well as the
You're
government.
just asking to use the money for a different purpose.
Yeah, basically, what when you guys originally approved that funding, it was to be used for the rubberization. Now that the governor has come through with some funding for that, we'd like to use that money to complete this work.
Have you got his money?
We did, yeah,
How much was that?
100,000.
From the governor?
Mhm. And 100,000 from Hardin County Schools.
Yes,
It was from Governor Justice,
yes, Governor Justice.
Yeah.
former governor.
Yeah.
Okay,
And he
Not
sent,
the
and the
current.
way that works is the track had actually written in and requested, you guys had requested that funding from the governor, but because of it being a public school system, they had to filter that through our financial, platform, so.
Well, I don't think we need to take any action since we already approved the-
Right, no,
that money
Right.
before, so.
thank
Do
you.
you guys are okay with the shipping containers too?
I think so. You getting, where are you getting those? Getting them local?
Bunker Hill,
how much are they?
How much are they a piece?
4,000 for the new, 20 footers, which is probably less than you'd have in a 16 by 20 mini barn.
For sure.
And
Does
longer.
that include delivery?
Delivery, they'll deliver, one for 400, two for 450.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Why not buy three?
I've seen some of the shipping.
Did you say each shipping container is 4,000?
Yes,
Yeah.
And are they, you said almost new, is that what you said?
yeah, they look brand new.
He said used one.
They're
I thought I
called
heard
one
you say
trips.
they
They've
only
been
one.
overseas on a ship one time.
I've seen
Only
some
one
online
time, okay.
shop and say, what are those?
'Cause I just got a 40-footer delivered for a little over 2,000.
You can get used ones. So the used ones are significantly cheaper. They're about half the cost.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, the one I got was used, but it inside looks brand new. Now outside, I need to paint. No doubt about it, but there's no holes, no nothing.
Where did you get it
And,
from?
I'm really pleased with what we got for the price.
Where did you get them, Roy?
Got online and the name of the company, I can tell you that here. EVEON. You type that online and it comes out of Baltimore and they'll deliver it pretty lickety split. But I'm just, I mean, it might be worth saving half cost. The 40-footer we got is, it's tight as a drum too. I mean, it doesn't.
We looked at 40 footers. We thought that would be better. Just
So
because.
they
you
have
always need
20
more
footers
space.
also. I think the 20s were 16, and I think the 40s were 1,800. If I remember right. I mean, wasn't much difference. I thought we went with the bigger one.
There's
But,
a sewer line about 30 feet behind the edge of the track.
Yeah.
So we have.
Well, and that makes sense. If you only use one for football, one for track, that would make sense to me. You'd want two of them. Because if not, you got 40 foot of trying to, who's gonna put their stuff in the back?
Right. And if it's dusk, lighting will be an issue because there won't be electric. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that you think about.
But, you know, you guys obviously do what you want, but I just,
No, we'll
It's
check in
worth
that for
it.
sure. For sure, but we definitely want to get something that looks nice. I mean, you can get some very good deals on some used ones, but they are very used.
Yeah.
Right? Like some of them look like they may have fallen off the ship a time or two.
Couldn't
well, this
swim
one's
well.
got one dent in it that you can't really notice it, but the outside, it does need painting. I mean, it's not super ugly, but it's not, wouldn't want to put it up there on the track without painting it. put it that way.
Gold and blue.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
We
guys.
appreciate everything
Thank
you're
you,
doing, Lucas.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is new business. First is approval of changes to the 24-25 school calendar.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval.
Just make up the date.
So this is the
That's
staff
something else on the bottom.
vote. 219 people participated, and it just shows you, they were given an option of adding days to the end of the current year, which 120 voted for, versus taking a day from the scheduled spring break, March 17th to 21st, and we would start with that Monday. Just giving you information, I mean, whichever way you folks prefer to do it is the way we'll go, but I wanted you to know what the staff's opinion was. Of course, anytime you instruct kids during the active school year is better. That's the benefit to that side. The benefit to the end of the year is I know we have several students and staff that have scheduled vacations, spring break. So you may end up with some people, I know of a couple who have no days left that would have to take days without pay. That's only 2 that I know of, so that would be up to you all as to which way you prefer. I don't know how many students would be absent on that Monday if we were to add it then, but
It's just one day, so it'll-
one day.
One day so far.
So we only had 219 responses out of total staff.
That's correct. Not everybody. We have around 300. 315, somewhere in there.
The negative with at the end of the year is that they've had their testing, they've done everything, and it's kind of
Wasted
a
time.
wasted day. If they were teaching, that would be good, but it seems like that we use a lot of those days for rewards programs and picking up and all that sort of thing.
And it's like anything else. You'll have some that'll be full instruction that day, and then you have some.
Sure.
it won't be many.
Okay, any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second to approve this for the end of the year.
Yeah, I just need to know, your preference as a board. How about this? I recommend that you add the day to the end of the year, and then depending on which way you all vote, we'll make a decision as to which way it is. We'll probably make it the cleanest.
Okay? So all those in favor of adding the day on to the end of the year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it's approved 5-0. Neither situation is very good
That is just,
so far.
Kids show up anyway. Is a day to make up,
One.
is a day to make up a Monday?
it'd be a Monday.
That one's gonna show up anyway. High school kids, middle school kids, won't. Maybe.
Oh, I'm not sure
So
what
down
it is
that-
on my.
Now, the next item is the discussion of the proposed 2025-2026 school calendar, attachment 2, which Lucas went over with us. Or, I mean, Josh.
God,
I'm
yeah,
so
don't do that to him.
So sorry. Cut part of my tongue out.
Oops.
What she thinks of it now.
I'm sorry.
So this is just a discussion, it's not an action item. There has to be another public hearing that Josh is gonna lead at East Hardy, the next meeting, or before the next board meeting, right before the next board meeting, yeah. But it's for you all to look at, it's a proposed, Hardy County developed calendar, and then it's the approved Grant Pendleton calendar. So it's just your FYI, and if there's anything else that you want, or any additional information or things you want to see in a calendar, you just have to let us know. And, you can do it that way.
Okay. All right, next up is approval of mowing bid for each campus, attachment 3.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second to approve. I had a question. Do all these people know that they need to weed eat and pull weeds?
Good
Yeah,
question.
so it'll be new all the way around. I talked to him today. He and I are going for a ride as soon as we get the contract going, yes. This will be my first contract on mowing. Yeah,
But you want to tell them about your, pre-bid meeting that you had? I think you explained more of the expectation that you had.
yeah, I did. I told him that it wasn't an as needed. It was, you get your haircut, you trim the edges. You don't get a haircut without trimming the edges. And we're gonna weed eat every time. yes.
Okay,
When does
You
the
gotta write
when does the contract run from?
The contract runs till June 30th, but
So my recommendation is that so each of our current vendors that we work with on mowing, that we have contracts with, they all signed WV-96s. And that means that they signed a form as a government entity that we can, with 30 days notice, end a contract, no matter what that term is. We can end that contract and begin the new one, simply because we're looking at a beginning of a new mowing season. I think it makes more sense to start the mowing season with the new contractor. And I know that was mentioned to them at the pre-bid meeting. It'll be up to you guys as to whether or not you're okay with doing that. But my suggestion, without any objection from you, would be to go ahead and notify our current contracts that those are going to be ending in by April. I think it was April 1st, we said, right?
we need a little time now, since it's the 3rd.
Yeah, so we would need to give 30 days notice and then begin with our new contractors that day. That puts your current folks out of a contract earlier than expected, obviously, because they're expecting it to go to June 30th. It just makes sense to me that we start the year with who's going to be doing our mowing.
Your new contract, what's the starting date on those? What will that be?
July 1.
Well,
No, it'll start in
It would
April.
start
It would have to
April.
start in
Well, it would
April.
start. in
Yes,
April,
yes, correct.
If you,
The old one started in July, the new one would start the
Could
first.
start April, this is the 3rd, so I mean, we
What?
would have to notify them.
I would abstain voting because I'm related. Rod Barr's my first cousin, so I abstain from voting.
Well, I have,
who is RKM Services? Where are
Ransom
they out of?
Markwood,
Huh?
Ransom Markwood, out of Moorfield.
Ranson,
Ranson, Ranson.
Markwood. Looking at these bids, I know it's all supposed to be on the up and up, but it looks like that he knew what the other bids were gonna be and was able to cut them.
So he
He did a
did,
FOIA request.
because he did a FOIA request, which they're all allowed to do. So he FOIA'd prior to bidding the contracts that the other folks had. And I know that some of the others had talked about wanting to FOIA and just didn't. One actually came in and said, I want the copies of the contracts. And Sarah said, you're welcome to have them, but you have to just put something in writing saying you're requesting them. You don't even have to do an official FOIA form. You have to just put in writing. And they never came back and FOIA'd that. But this young man is quite the entrepreneur, and he indeed did that. And so when he
Pretty smart.
Now, I personally sat in on the bid opening. I came in on this one and everything was sealed. It hadn't been opened. And this individual also included in their bid packet every insurance that we would need, every license that they had. It was all there, ready to go, letters of recommendation.
Sounds like he's got his stuff together.
He does, yeah. So anyone could have FOIA'd the other contracts than this individual did. So he did know, because he knew what they did last time. He didn't know what they were gonna bid this time, but he knew what the standing bid was.
Okay,
We have a written contract this time instead of just a verbal, you gotta mow this. gotta
Yeah,
mow
we
that.
will, yes.
I have a
Did
question.
you send that to us? when you get
Sure.
done?
I'm sorry, Melvin. In the summertime, when everything is burning brown, do we pay him to mow?
Only when he mows.
Well, maybe this man won't mow the brown hay off the lawn.
Right, yeah, you're talking about last summer when the drought
Right.
was and we were getting bills for it,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, we were being billed for.
It doesn't have a required number of mows, if that's the proper term. So Josh can control it. And I'll tell you, again, this is my fault last time because he wasn't mowing and I did some driving around and said, oh my gosh, why do we have those little shoots sticking up that were yay high in one area? And I said, please get him over there to mow. And so I had Josh call him. So some of that was my fault. because
We
Okay.
understand.
well, you have to cut the weeds.
You had
Yeah, but
some-
you have to have some common sense too.
Yeah, but if
I
they
mean,
get
when
out
you
there-
see that the lawn is burned brown,
Yeah.
don't bill us for mowing it.
Yeah, there were places that were higher and then places that were dead. And I guess what's not part of the contract is if they mow that land, they get that amount of money. It's not like a per hour or a per section. So I think that's why it probably looked like it didn't need mowed, but I had them called in to do certain parts of it and then they just, that's how it works. So you had to pay them the full mowing.
Now, are they responsible, like Josh, around the football field used to spray? 'Cause I got tired of
They're
reading.
not.
That's not part of it. Now, who does that?
That's us.
Maintenance, okay.
Now,
That was a lot of weed eating.
how thick is the mulch gonna be?
What do you want? We'll put that in the contract.
Well, at least 4 inches if you really want the mulch to work. I figured in the bid, you would have maybe specified.
I don't think it's specified.
It's
how
not
big.
specified, yeah.
Yeah, because if they just put a little dusting on it, it looks like they went like that.
Or just rake up the old one. Fluff it.
I think we probably need
Is
about,
that mulching every time or just
It's
once
twice a
a
year,
season?
twice a year.
Thank you.
So I think they do it, Mr. Harper, right before graduation and right before school opening.
Very good. Thank you.
And if we call them in to do it additionally more than twice a year, we can do that. We just have to pay them their mulching price for it.
Okay.
So if we needed it additionally.
does anybody else have any more
I think
discussion?
you're on the right track. I appreciate you taking care of that.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Are there any objections to us notifying those individuals that we're gonna end the,
No, if you can do that with no issues, I'd say that's the thing to do, because you're gonna have to start mowing. You don't want those people to mow for a couple months and then the new person taking over
yeah.
in June.
okay,
And you ought to continue starting the contract on April the 1st, so you can,
yeah, or
if
30
you get-
days
right.
from, yeah, notification.
or whatever the 30 days would be.
Okay, all those in favor of approval of the mowing bid for each campus signify by saying aye. Opposed? So it's approved
Abstain,
5-0.
abstain.
Or
4 to 1 and 1 abstention.
Yeah, not a.
Okay, so moving on, approval of dual credit courses update.
Move to approve.
Second,
Have a motion and a second to approve of the dual credit classes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, so it's 5-0.
Lots of opportunities for our kids.
Okay, on to board members, superintendent discussion.
You ready for me? Okay. Here is the parade officer report. It's front and back. And we'll do as normal, and if you have any questions after you look over it, we can get you answers, let me know, we can discuss it at the next meeting. During discussion, if it's- Make Mr. Harper a copy.
I just put here, that's next.
Additionally, we were approached by WELD, and Chip Combs asked if you all would consider signing, and I apologize, it's just one copy of this, but it's called Music in Our Schools Month Proclamation.
Yeah.
And it says, Hardy County Board of Education, whereas for 40 years, March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education as Music in Our Schools Month, encouraging communities across the nation to focus on music education. And whereas music education is part of a well-rounded education for every student, as outlined in the Every Student Succeeds Act, and whereas the purpose of the celebration is to raise awareness of the lasting positive impact of music education on the academic, personal, and professional growth of our students. And whereas music education shapes the way our students understand themselves and the world around them, allowing for a deep engagement with learning. And whereas Music in Our Schools Month reminds us that school is where all children should have access to music. And whereas music educators, students, and communities throughout West Virginia demonstrate the importance of quality music education programs to the lives of young people, whereas the state of West Virginia joins our music students, educators, and communities in celebrating the power of education. Now therefore, the Hardee County Board of Education does hereby proclaim March 2025 as Music in Our Schools Month in West Virginia and encourages all citizens to celebrate and acknowledge every day, but especially in March, that music education is an essential part of every student's well-rounded education. And it leaves a place for each board member to sign that. So I believe that they will be doing special announcements throughout the month if we sign that during March, and they receive a certain amount of money that's being funded to cover those announcements, and the businesses pay for it, and we get a percentage of that money that they raise to help pay for the ads. But most importantly, it doesn't cost us anything, and it's supporting music in our schools. So if you agree to that, as I just read, if you'll sign the bottom, that would be wonderful. Let me have that done. And while you're doing that, I will move on to a confidential attachment as far as there are student names on this, but you had asked for the alternative ed students and benchmark growth. So this one is ELA. This one is math. So you're going to have two charts here. And we won't use any student names because it's confidential, but just so you can get a look at what our kids are doing. Our seniors don't take the benchmarks. They've completed their state testing. They're actually focusing on their college and career readiness. But you'll see the first benchmark and second benchmark, and then the far right column will tell you if the student has shown growth or not. You will see that there are some that do not have second benchmarks. I'm not sure why they have growth there.
What's ATT? Is that attitude?
Attendance issue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an attendance issue. So they don't have a test score to go in for that. I'm not sure why that says right here, but anyway, if you see at the bottom, some that have a blank in the first column means they probably, when we did the first benchmark, weren't in alternative ed, and they don't have a score for them for various reasons. Some of them may have not even been in the county. The second one, we have 2 individuals in a facility and 2 attendance issues. But you'll see across the board there what our students look like. So those are the names and the individuals and their scores.
Does Roy, does he want to come in, or does
Yeah,
someone
we'll
want to
hold on
sign
to
for
it
him?
for, Mr. Harper, would you like to personally sign the music in our schools month?
I was
Proclamation.
hoping you could forge my signature if that's allowed.
We can make sure your name is on it for sure. Next I have for you, I wanted to let you all know that we were able to find $5,000 in last year's competition money to give to robotics. So we were able to recognize them, and I gave Mrs., well, actually, we mailed it to Moorfield Middle School and sent it to them, but we sent them $5,000 to help cover their expenses to go on robotics to the next competition.
They made it to international
They did.
at Houston.
Yeah, which is very exciting. They were excited when
Well, yeah,
that they accomplished that, but I wanted to let you know that. And then the last thing I have, hold on, it might not be the last thing, because Sean's supposed to keep me on track here. Not the last thing I had. We need to schedule the principal's presentation where they come and spend the day sharing their school updates with you in a board meeting fashion like we do every year. And we were looking at April the 15th and 16th. On that same note, our board meeting, which was the second Tuesday, our board meeting that was the third Tuesday in April has to be moved to the second Tuesday in April because of the levy rates.
The board meeting we had scheduled is usually
What's the
the
date?
first and third Monday. Well, it happened to fall on the 4th Tuesday because the 1st is actually on, April the 1st is actually on a Tuesday.
So we have to do it on the second Tuesday.
The third Tuesday.
The third Tuesday.
Yes.
So it's first
Which
and
is-
third Tuesdays.
Which will be the 15th.
So it's the 15th. Sorry. Yes, my next thing.
Okay, so our regular,
Regular board meeting plus that.
So the
Same
April
day.
22nd one is going to be moved to April 15th. So you'll have two board meetings back to back in April. And then along with that, I didn't know if you wanted to spend the day here or if that's too much, it's totally fine. I didn't know if you wanted to spend the day here with the schools and then have our board meeting at 5 o'clock that day, which would be on the 15th.
You've done that before, haven't you?
Well, we thought we had, but not last
Yeah.
year. It must have been the year before that. We looked. But is that okay with everybody? And then you're here one day and you're good to go? Okay, so
as
then I will
long
let
as
the
you
principals
make
know.
us chicken noodle soup.
I will make you chicken noodle soups. Yes, ma'am. So we'll do April 15th for that principals' day meetings here. That works.
And regular board meeting that day.
And regular board meeting that evening at
Because
5.
that's the Tuesday we have to have it on.
Levy rates, levy rates, yeah, got it. And then,
We need to make sure that the information that, we ask the principals for, we need to be thinking about that.
I will bring you, to the next meeting, or I'll email it to you, what we normally ask them for, and then at the next meeting, because we have a little time, we'll look at what you want, if you want to leave it the same or change it.
Okay.
And then I'll give them that outline. You don't need to look at the that one. And then this is what I have for school visits. Mr. Shook, I know that you were not available on the March 11th, but they asked if that was really the date they wanted to do it. Are you okay with us doing it anyway that day? I also will not be here that day, but that's the preferred visit date. So
Why was that one?
what's that?
Why they was that day?
I'm not sure if from that point on, it picks up just with end of the year testing and exam preparation. I'm not really sure if there's something that they want us to see that day. But that was the preference. They also, and you'll see here, I put their notes. So March 4th, which is tomorrow, 12:30 to 2, East Hardy High School wanted you there. The students are dismissing early. They just wanted you there to talk to staff. And I shared with them the options as far as like, this is what you want us there for kids, not with kids, in the discussion we had last time. Moorfield High School wants you to visit assigned classrooms. They asked for it to be one board member in each assigned room to limit disruption.
Do we get to pick the room?
I think
To
they'll
which we
probably
are
give
assigned.
you, I think they'll probably give
Says
you a
in an
schedule.
assigned room.
Yeah, I think they'll.
I
schedule
want
us.
to be, there's a room to which I want to be assigned now.
Okay, you
Don't
can make
know
a
that I
special
can-
request, and I will pass that on.
Okay, thank you.
And then be available during lunch to speak with the teachers as needed. East Hardy Elementary wants you on March 28th from 9:30 to 11 to watch the hallway huddles and meet with a student panel. So they wanted to give you a group of students to talk to you about their school. And then at 11, before you leave, they have a hallway huddle, which is a hallway celebration that they wanted to talk to you about. Moorfield Elementary School on March 24th, 8:30 to 11. They want 1 to 2 people in each room, with seeing as many rooms as possible. And then they also want to follow up with feedback afterwards. And I have not heard back from Moorfield Middle and Moorfield Intermediate, and I asked again today. So as soon as I get back
Well, if they don't.
from them,
Maybe they don't want us to
That's
come.
what I'm, do you want us?
Pick a date, go ahead and pick a date.
I didn't know nothing about it, honey.
we talked about it at the principal's meeting, and then I shot a follow-up email when I hadn't heard back from them.
So sometimes I'm just chopped liver.
Yeah, we'll get you scheduled if I don't hear back from them. But right now, we're looking at a little farther out anyway, so we've got
I'll
some
get on
time.
this case tomorrow.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
The fight that was at the basketball, was that students or adults?
Students. No, 2 students were involved, but there was an adult that made a comment to some students, correct?
Correct.
And that adult received a letter that they cannot be back on school property.
A
That
more,
adult was from, where were they from?
Petersburg.
Thank you.
the adult.
The adult was from Petersburg and received a letter regarding not being permitted to any events
Hardin County Schools property. The principal sent the letter.
For how long? A year?
Off the top of my head, I don't recall
Probably,
if there was a date.
usually you
Usually
choose it for the rest of the year. Remember Harmon, John?
365, I think.
So on the 15th, we'll be here all day, starting at what time?
I'll get that to you.
Okay.
That's when they burnt the school down, they burnt the library.
The robotics team's having a fundraiser on March the 7th also, pancake at Duffy, but I'm not sure what time. Didn't say.
There was a county commission meeting the day after being here. You were there, Mel. They
Yeah,
brought
they
the
were.
road by the wall.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that was nice. that they did that.
Kids like he's out up at Petersburg. Again.
Congratulations, man. That's quite an accomplishment.
That's huge.
And I was glad you found somebody did see you and paid that. I was gonna ask about
Yeah.
We'll do 4 to 7 on Friday.
They were very appreciative.
4 to 7.
They, when we gave them that check, and Ms. Bright said, "We didn't even ask you for money." And I said, "I know, but the board was very impressed and wanted to support you, so." they were
Thank you.
happy about that.
too.
Okay, do any board members have anything for discussion?
I had some notes, but she took care of everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move on then. Roy, how about you? Anything?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Future agenda items. Anybody think of anything?
I would like to have the pro officers on the April 7th agenda. And I spoke to both of them today and they were good with that, just because we bring them in occasionally to answer any questions you might have. I told them they could talk to you all about what they're seeing that's going well, what's not going well, and if they had any concerns they thought the board needed to be aware of. And they were both good with that date, so we're gonna put them on that agenda.
Okay. All right, under announcements, on March 17th, we have the public calendar hearing at East Hardy Elementary School beginning at 4:30. And the regular Board of Education meeting will be held at East Hardy Elementary School beginning at 5. Moving on to mission statements and accomplishments. I wanted to congratulate the Moorfield High School DECA. They were recognized for an outstanding school-based enterprise. And Amy Kreitz is their advisor. And I was really proud of them. I think that's where you mentioned the gold. They got gold again. That's wonderful.
I'd like to
Really.
commend all the students who came in here and supported that teacher. That was impressive.
Yeah. Moorfield Middle School won the PVC League Junior Boys Basketball Championship. 3rd time in a row, is it? I think. Good job.
Bunch of boys.
Good
With
job.
Each age group.
That means
they've
there's
won.
hope for the future.
There's
Yeah.
hope for the future.
Good
They'll
job.
be fighting over who's the coach then one.
Oh, they beat Warm Springs
Yeah.
44-20.
And then the class that was the 7th grade, right? The 6th grade boys beat Warm Springs and won the PVL too. So we've got some good kids, playing basketball. That's good.
Hardin County is taking 11 wrestlers to the state tournament, so I'll congratulate both teams for outstanding representation. And congratulations to Lacey Kestner. As Mrs. Markwood mentioned earlier, she completed her national board certification, and so she'll be recognized at the state level here coming up, which is very exciting.
Good things happen.
Okay, anybody else for mission statements, accomplishments? All right, so we'll move on to personnel.
Did anybody congratulate? I'm
That's
looking at
okay.
all of this, the robotics team for winning the right to go on to the international competition in Houston. That's definitely a big deal.
Oh, absolutely. They're really doing well.
Impressive.
Proud of them.
Impressive.
a lot of hard work in that and we're fortunate to have a bunch of good students that with aptitude to be able to excel at that. So it's a good thing.
Makes me proud.
For personnel. I'm going to do the first one separately because we did have a personnel hearing and Mr. Harper was not able to attend that hearing, so he can't vote for this first one. So I will recommend the professional personnel transfer of Scott Meckling from teacher social studies Morphett High School due to the necessary reconfiguration of staffing needs at Morphett High for the 25-26 school year.
Move to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Hard one to do.
And so we're approved 4-0. Yes, it is difficult.
That's a hard one.
Very, very difficult. If we had an excess levy, we might be able to have that advantage of being able to do that. But in the situation that we're in and with the government, it's sad. But I hope that he'll take that spark he has with the high school kids and take it to the elementary school and excel there also.
Well, a good teacher's gonna be a good teacher no matter what. And I've talked to him. Like I said, I was a fourth grade teacher that went to the high school as a principal. And the difference is, as an elementary teacher, you're more student oriented because you have them all day long. You know, at the high school, you're more subject oriented. But if he'll be a good teacher no matter where he goes.
Well, those fourth graders need a role model too.
And they need more men because anymore,
Absolutely.
you don't get a man probably until you hit middle school, maybe not even if it's, you know, and usually that's a phys ed teacher. Because at one time at Moorfield Elementary, when you hit third grade, your third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, there was a male or two in every grade. And I don't think that's probably over there now, is it? Probably not even at the intermediate school. You don't have a whole lot of male teachers, do you?
I always like my men teachers better. I mean, not like that, but I just did, you know.
She was a flirt.
Well, Sarah really loved
Thank
when
you.
she had you. She had him for 2 years, though.
Yeah.
She had him for fourth and fifth, so.
I think Mr. Meckling will no doubt have a huge impact on any student that he has in his class. Did we vote on that one? We're good to go? All right. I recommend the approval of the remaining personnel actions as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the remaining personnel actions as recommended by the superintendent, Dr. Van Meter. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So we're approved 5-0. Anybody want to go home?
Are we finished?
Do we have any, we've done the leave absence? They were part of it.
It's on the personnel.
Recommended.
Yeah, we're done.
Motion
Move to
approved.
adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn at 6:19. All those
Y'all
in
choose your best
favor
answer.
signify by saying aye.
Yeah, the Simmons, two Simmons. Two Simmons. You knew one of ours got thrown out of Petersburg.